Hey, it's Chuck Armstrong with Loudwire Nights, and this is Loudwire Nights on Demand. It was an absolute blast chatting with Josh Katz and Alex Espiritu of Badflower, talking all about their new song, Detroit. This aired on Friday, July 26th. Enjoy. But tonight we are hanging with two very special guests, Josh Katz and Alex Espiritu of Badflower, as we celebrate the release of their brand new song, Detroit, which follows up their most recent new track, Teacher Has a Gun. I'm excited for this conversation, man. Josh and Alex, thanks so much for hanging tonight.
Thanks for having us. Ooh, why are you excited about the conversation?
Well, I'll tell you why I'm excited, because I saw you guys last year. You opened for Incubus on that tour with Incubus. And, going into it, I was like, man, that's kind of a tough band to open for because they have such a unique and specific sound. And like their fans are rabid, right? And so if they're shelling out money for that ticket, they want to just immerse themselves in that Incubus world. You guys opening right before Incubus, I mean, you owned the stage. You owned the crowd. You held them in the palm of your hand. Every single song, the crowd was dialed in, and you were responding in kind with energy and intensity. And it was such a cool experience. So here we are like a year later, and yeah, I'm pretty excited to chat with you guys.
Oh, nice. What show were you at?
Kansas City. Outside of Kansas City.
I don't know why I asked that question. Like I would remember exactly which.
That's the only show you played last year, right?
I don't remember anything. But I'm glad it went well.
It was a great show. Yeah, you guys were there and you played very well. Yes.
Yeah, cool.
So listen, let's talk about something that you do remember. You got two new songs out right now, Teacher Has a Gun, and now the latest, Detroit. How are you guys feeling?
Feeling great. They're basically the same song. They're so similar.
No. Yeah, I've spent a little time with these two songs. They're a little different from each other, man.
But I'm proud of that. That's what our band does. You never know what to expect. I like that.
Yeah, I love that, man. Well, these songs are following your second full length, This Is How the World Ends, that came out in 2021. Are these two songs pointing toward the follow-up to that, the new full length?
Yes.
All right.
Yes. But because they're so different, and the whole album is going to be so different, they're not an indication of what you're going to get, which is cool. Yeah, it's not like this is what the album's going to sound like. No, no, not at all.
But you like that. You like that.
Yeah. Well, I think all of our albums there's a lot of range there. We're definitely not one trick ponies. We're like 5 trick ponies, not 6. We can do 5 things really, really well.
Stop past that. We get confused.
Past that, we can't do anything.
Cannibalizing the other ideas. Yeah.
That's fair, man. Well, let's talk about these songs. So let's start with Teacher Has a Gun. Pretty bold title. The song lives up to that boldness, man. Can you talk a little bit about the inspiration behind this track?
Yeah, it was one of those, like, the lyric "Teacher Has a Gun" just came out of my mouth, just happened. I wasn't thinking about anything. It just happened. And I wrote it down. I was like, that's awesome. That's cool. What's wrong with that? And then, it made me think, of being a young person living in America today with all these conversations about guns and everything happening in the news and everything going on. And I felt that like paranoia, and I wrote a sort of cheeky little story around that. And it's just a fun rock song that sort of represents that feeling.
Yeah,
it's not that deep. I think people want it to be deeper than it is because the title of the song is like so intense. But it's really not that. It's not meant to be that deep.
Yeah, but I mean, Liz, you don't shy away from anything, right? I mean, and granted, it's cheeky and it's not necessarily a real experience. But talking about a teacher having a gun and the shells on the seat and all of that, like, it might hit people in a in a deep way.
Right. Yes. True. It might. But I'm just, for the record, it wasn't designed. Like, there are plenty of songs that we've written that are designed to hit people in a very specific way. They're designed to poke at a nerve for good, for better, for worse. And this is just not one. This is one of those songs where, the subject matter is intense, and it might poke at you in such a way where it sort of elicits a response, but it's not actually that song. It's not that deep. That's all I'm saying about it.
Like, you didn't set out to write this. There you go, Alex. Yeah, you're easy listening. You didn't set out to write this bold social commentary or anything like that.
No. And if it was that, it wouldn't be from this young perspective. It would have been a very different song. Yeah, it's just meant to be fun. Like, I am a firm believer that, like, taking the piss out of serious things happening in the world is like the most healing thing. I'm a big fan of like comedy and stand-up comedy. for that reason. I don't think we should take serious things so seriously all the time. I think there's a real healing in just like taking the piss out of it. And that's one of those songs that kind of does that for me.
Well, and the music video does that too, right? Like, so if you call the song Cheeky itself, I mean, the video, both of you are in it, the whole band's in it. I mean, it's it's a pretty fun music video.
But a lot deeper than the song is, though. I think the video the video tells a much deeper story than the song. But yes, it does follow that sort of cheeky energy. Totally.
Yeah. I love that, man. Well, listen, that's the power of rock and roll. That's the power of music, right? That you can set out to write a song in one way, but the way it hits the listener in a different way. I mean, that's the beauty, I think, of rock. And also, not just listening to music
too.
Well, that's true. Yeah. Because everybody wants you to dive deep into this song. And you're like, dude, it was just a lyric that came out of my mouth.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about the second song, the song that's exactly like Teacher Has a Gun, Detroit.
Yeah, it's basically just the extended.
This just came out. Now, listen, I don't want to read too deep into this, but if I'm hearing it right, it's kind of autobiographical for Badflower, is it? You guys got everything you wanted, and
this Detroit's a very personal song. It makes perfect sense. It really does sort of encapsulate what it feels like to become successful, some degree, like to have some degree of success as an entertainer when it's something that you wanted your entire life, and then to like look at it and realize it's not satisfying in the ways that you had hoped it would be. And the most satisfying aspects of it are the climb. It was the journey there, and you didn't know it at the time, but it's such like a common trope. Everybody knows this. This is like a thing, but I think it's especially intense too, because the landscape of the music industry, what it is to be a rock star, is completely different now. Like when we sort of grew up watching MTV and looking at, for me, it was like bands like Blink-182, Green Day, like that sort of thing. I wanted to embody that. I wanted to be that. That looked so appealing to me. What doesn't look appealing is like lip syncing to TikTok trends, which is what a rock star is supposed to do now. And also being like judged by your political and social opinions constantly and having to like none of that stuff. That's not what I wanted. If I was a kid now, looking at that, like what fame looked like, I wouldn't want it. That's not the version of it that I want. So it's weird now having it. Like we reached a level of success. It's our career. It's our job. It's what pays our bills. But it doesn't look the same way. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that, but this is a song that's sort of about that feeling.
Yeah, and you're right. That is a common thing that, is far it goes far beyond music or the
totally.
rock world. But it's something that, as you're talking about that, as I've listened to the song, it's something you don't hear musicians talk about a lot. They don't talk about like, man, I became a rock star and it wasn't as good as I expected. You might hear that
sounds
in other
entitled.
words, but
It sounds entitled. It's that like some people I know with Detroit, some people are going to be like, oh, must be nice. Like having hit songs like this and that. I'm like, yeah. And you know what? And they're right. Our lives could be way worse. We got really, really lucky. We also worked extremely hard, but we like won the lottery. This is a lottery win to live the lives that we live. But that doesn't make it any less
human,
difficult. And that doesn't like cure the depression that comes from being successful and then looking at it and going, now what? Now what do I do with my life? I dedicated my whole life to this thing. Like now what do I do? It's weird.
I know the song is new, but no doubt you've been thinking about this for a while. Have you kind of thought about that? Now what do I do? How do I cure this?
Yeah, I think about it every day.
Do you have an answer?
No. As of now, it's like keep doing it. Keep writing songs because I know I love doing it. Despite any success I've had, I loved doing this long before anyone gave me any sort of validation or money for it. And trying to like dig in and hold on to that feeling, that thing that existed in me when I was young. And just like not let it go because it just slips away. It slips away. I don't know why, and I don't know how to change that.
Is this something you guys talk about as a band? Like clearly, Josh, it's something that it's very personal to you. But like you and Alex, everybody, do you guys talk about this?
Yeah, and we all feel it too. I'm the guy writing lyrics, so like I'm talking about it and thinking about it constantly. But we all feel this thing, and we talk to a lot of other bands too. Our friend groups are only bands now because it's the people we know, and it's a really common feeling. Yeah.
Hey, listen, like I said, man, it's a human thing, right? You guys are rock stars. You guys got the coolest jobs in the world. You won the lottery, all that, but it doesn't mean you aren't human. You don't feel things. You don't go through things. And so the fact that you would put it down in a song, makes all the sense in the world. And yeah, man, I think listeners will connect to it in their own way, just like they connect to every song. It'll mean something different to them.
Yeah. Well, which is also true too, because I thought about that. The same feeling applies to like a relationship. You like obsess over a person that you want so bad, and like in the beginning stages of a thing, and then it starts progressing, and then it becomes normal. It's like real. Okay, this is should we break up? I don't think I'm that happy anymore. It's so weird how that happens, but like once you get the thing, this like unobtainable thing that you wanted so bad, as soon as it's normalized, it's just reality.
Yeah,
it sucks. What do we do about this? How do we fix it?
I don't know. Is there a way to fix it? I mean, this is something people have been dealing with forever, right? That you want something, you get it, and then you're like, oh, well, it's not as good as I thought, or it's as good as I thought, but it's over, right? Like it's great, like getting all you wanted, all the success you've been dreaming about. It's probably in some way as good as you expected, but then it's just like you're at the top. So what's next? What now?
Yeah. Well, we don't have a Grammy yet.
All right, there you go.
That's like the thing. That's like the thing I always wanted. So until there's a Grammy, there's still drive to keep doing it. But as soon as that Grammy hits, we're done. We're done.
Then you're just lip syncing on TikTok.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, you guys are gearing up for a tour across Australia soon, which is pretty cool. Have you guys played Australia before?
No. Technically, I played a solo show in Australia like over a decade ago.
All right. So there's the big. But
that was before. That was before Badflower existed. Or were we? No, Badflower did exist.
Yeah,
we did.
You went rogue on all of our hits.
Yeah, I just went to Australia. I was like, I'm going solo.
Yeah.
No, we've never played, and there's been a lot of demand for it.
Yeah, so that's a big deal, right? Like all right, you don't have a Grammy, but also you haven't toured Australia, and you're going to be able to check that off the list.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's another check off the list. Once all the checks are once they're all there,
it's done. Just close the book.
Yeah. Later.
Then you're back in the States in September for pretty deep run of headlining shows across the States. But you've done that before, so why keep doing it?
Now you're getting it. Yeah.
See, I get it. Yeah. No, I'm listening, man. I'm listening. Yeah.
I can't stand for that. No. September, October, it's gonna be great.
No, it's still so fun. Yeah. It's like I know it sounds like I'm being a downer right now, and I am a little bit, but it is like even when I'm thinking this way, I'm like, man, life will never be as good as it was however long ago, whatever I'm reminiscing on. I know that a certain amount of time will pass, and I'm gonna look back at that moment when I said life will never be as good as that moment. And that will feel like, man, it was so good then. It just always, always feels that way. You always go back to a time and it's just really hard to appreciate when you're in it that right now I'm living a memory that I'm going to look back on later and be like, life was so much better then. Like right now, talking to you, I know that this is one of those memories because we're laughing and smiling and having a good time. And I can smell this coffee. I'm going to get a whiff of this coffee in 10 years, like whatever this specific type of coffee is. And it's going to take me back to this moment. And I'm going to be like, that was it. That was like the peak of life.
Yeah, it was, man. I can't wait to talk to you in 10 years, man, and remind you of
this. I know. I'll call you bawling like, remember what we
That's what right, happened? Man. So listen, you talk about reminiscing. Is that something that you do a lot of? Because I think next year marks officially kind of the decade anniversary of Badflower's first single, Soap. Yeah, I know.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
Whoa.
Do you, I know Detroit is a bit of that reminiscing and reflecting, but do you spend time like looking back, or are you always trying to look ahead, trying to keep focused on what's coming up?
It's typically only ever looking forward. Lately, yeah, there's been a lot of looking back, especially like while Detroit's been this song, we're working on a music video, which is a compilation of everything in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
So there's been like a ton of
reflection.
Like literally looking back. Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of that. I don't know. It's not looking back to be proud of the achievements. It's like, it's more sinister. It's more just like, sucks how good it was. It sucks that it's not like that now. It sucks that we're older. I'm about to turn 34. I've spent the entirety of my 30s so far just mourning my 20s. That's what my 30s are. That's it. Yeah. That's what they're here for. They're here to mourn my 20s.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
That's what life is, man. Yeah. Because when you hit 40, you're going to be doing the same thing. Yeah.
I know.
But
I hate all of it.
But life's pretty good. You guys are.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Alex, you're laughing, man. You're smiling. You're quiet, but you're smiling,
I'm on the total
man.
opposite end of this. Like, I I enjoy doing what we do, and I don't mind getting older. And as long as I keep doing cool shit, I think it's great. But I do still reminisce a lot, all the time. I still listen to the same 10 bands that I've been listening to for the past 20 years. It's I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. That's the thing.
And we're constantly like, remember that song? Oh, this sounds like that song from high school or whatever. I
love that. Josh, you mentioned, being young and wanting to, looking at Blink-182 and Green Day as kind of like, that's what I want to do. They're still around today, right? Still making great new music, still touring across the world. Do you still look to them as sort of like the bar or, an example of what you want to do? All right,
no, I don't. I mean, just being honest, I look to what they did in their like heyday, or it's I don't know. It's rare that a band that has been doing it for that long can come up with something that's like, oh, this is groundbreaking in the same way that it was then. It's just hard to do. It's hard. It's hard when you've done it already. Yeah. I can't think of anyone who's done that. And maybe part of my motivation is to be that too. Is to do that thing. Like, I think some of the stuff that our band did early on was like special. It was special in a way. It's the reason we had success with it, is because it was special. Trying to find that specialness in different bodies. I mean, we're in different bodies now. Like, we're just different people, different brains, different bodies. Like, so what do we do with this? What's the special mark that we leave on the world with this? Not just putting out songs that might get good radio play. Look, we still have a career. That sounds like hell to me. Like, there has to be. You've got to leave your fingerprint on this planet in some way, and know that it's supposed to be here. I left it here. Even now, I'm leaving my fingerprint, and it belongs here. The world is better for it. Yeah, it's hard. See, it's hard. It's hard to figure that out.
But I dig that, man. And I know you're not joking about wanting to get a Grammy, but like those very tangible, very specific things certainly are good. But I love the broader, like, you know what? Let's be the band that 40 years into our career, we're still blazing trails, like, or we're doing something new that no one else has ever done. That's harder to quantify, but that's still what a significant thing to do.
Yeah, Radiohead. That's an example. Radiohead just kept doing it, doing something, and there was periods where people were like, Radiohead fell off, but they didn't. They never did. It was just it was just kind of like above everyone, and then eventually people figured it out. Like, no, they're just above. Yeah. So that's a pretty good, like, that'd be a pretty cool career. That's a good career to sort of model. Yeah, it's tough. It's just hard.
Right on. It is hard, man, but that's life, and it is fun, man. And whether you're a rock star, regardless of your vocation, like, there's a lot here that I know people can connect to and probably relate with in their own way. Like you said, maybe it's a relationship, maybe it's, trying to get that job that you've always wanted. Maybe it's trying to finish school or whatever that is. Like, there are things that will force you to sort of confront that reality, look back, look ahead, and all of that. And so if a band like Badflower can put that into a song, and a pretty, fun song to listen to, then hell yeah, man. Let's keep doing that.
Thank you very much.
Josh and Alex of Badflower, thanks so much for hanging tonight. I mean, just such a upbeat, positive conversation about about how lucky you guys are. No, listen, seriously, the new music rules. Both songs, Teacher Has a Gun in Detroit, and I can't wait to see all that's on the horizon for you guys. You can stay caught up with everything happening in Badflower's world at badflowermusic.com. Josh, Alex, you're welcome back on Loudwire Nights anytime, and in 10 years we'll reminisce about this moment.
Yeah, no, mark it on your calendar. It'll be interesting to have that conversation.
That wraps up this episode of Loudwire Nights on Demand. Stay caught up with everything happening in the world of rock and metal on the Loudwire app and at loudwire.com.